So I'm in Cromwell Lock now. There's two locks here. It's a bit of a staircase. And then it's the tidal part of the River Trent, as well as 500, 600, 700 ton boats. Let's just say I'm a little bit nervous, and if I can follow the charts, everything will be fine. However, before we even got out of the lock, the paddles had to go into emergency shutdown. The bow rope of the neighbouring narrowboat had got caught on the ladder. Nothing the lockkeeper hadn't seen or done before by the looks of it. The journey is to take me just under 5 hours, and as it's tidal, requires a very different approach. I'll leave Cromwell Lock and head north along a rather windy section of the river, just to the east of Sutton-on-Trent. I'll pass the 5 distinct towers of High Marnham Power Station, and then after a final S-bend of navigation, I'll leave the River Trent and moor up just before Torksey Lock. The weir at Cromwell is the largest on the River Trent, and the huge lock is manned from 8 in the morning till 9 at night during the summer season. There are plenty of high and low mooring spots available here, but when I arrived the only spot left was high. This made Molly getting up on the roof of Alice and then onto the bank an interesting experience. Before I attempted to navigate this part of the river, it was important I had an anchor, ensure it was to hand, and obviously ensure it's actually connected to the boat. Life jackets are required for all crew. I won't be travelling in the dark, but if I did, I would have to have fully installed red, green and white navigation lights. So far, all things are going well. I'm pleased to have the charts, because it's a little bit deceiving. You think, right, I'll go on that bit. You look at the chart and it says, no, stay over to one side. You stay over to the one side and you get close and you realise actually the bit you were going to go along is really shallow. There's loads and loads of pointers, buildings to look out for in the distance that you can line up to as well. So very, very well worth purchasing. I've got one other narrowboat following me, and I think he's basically following the wake, because when you go along on a boat it sort of creates like a clear path almost, and I think he's just following that. I purchased the charts from the Cromwell Lockkeeper and they were £10. Silt builds up on the inner sections as the river bends and the water moves slower. Despite my narrowboat having a relatively shallow depth in the water, the lockkeeper told me just the day before another narrowboat had got stuck on a shoal and had to embarrassingly wait until the next tide before continuing their journey. Today I was not having any issues and just ploughed on. some areas of the river are really quite windy. Just round this corner is a sunken island called Normanton Island. You apparently can't see it at all from the water, but because I've got the charts, they've detailed extra level of detail for certain areas, and this is one of them, and it indicates to keep to my port side a lot more than in the centre, otherwise I will ground myself, and I'll hear grinding. Typical, just as I come up to this sunken island where I have to keep left, a great big cruiser's coming in the opposite direction. I'll go on the shallow a bit because he needs a lot more depth than me. There are not many mooring spots along this section of the river. There is a pontoon here just before Dunham Bridge, with one 24-hour and one 48-hour mooring spot. If you get tired and decided to moor up here instead of travelling onto the lock, it's important to let the lock keeper know, either by mobile phone or VHF radio. Just to the west is Cotton Power Station with its large cooling towers. The power stations dotted along the river within the Trent Valley produce more than a quarter of all electricity consumed in England and Wales. The river's water makes a plentiful supply for steam production, as well as cooling the steam once it's passed through the generation turbines. Well, I arrived at Torksey Lock. I'm going to walk up to the lock now and see if we can get through. Well, I've just spoken to the lock keeper, and what's really good is Cromwell Lock has spoken ahead and told how many boats are coming up the river. And this lock keeper has been expecting us and will open the gate shortly and let us through. You need to have a long centreline for Torksey Lock, as the difference in water level is quite large. My 30-foot centreline, which reaches me on the stern, was not long enough to reach up to the lock bollard and back to me on the stern. So Jim, the volunteer lockkeeper, was kind enough to tie me up to the bollard, and he kept an eye on its tension as Alice rose in the lock. After passing a number of cruises, I moored up on the final mooring spot, ready for my journey down the Fosdyke navigation. I was planning on heading down to the cathedral city of Lincoln. Find out how I got on in the next episode. If you've not already subscribed, please do. It doesn't cost you anything, and by clicking the bell icon, you'll be notified about future releases. Until next time, see you later.